welcome to 2021. We've actually been here for a little while now. It's about 2 or 3 weeks, isn't it? So I have been compiling what I would like for this year. I've never done a wish list before. I've never really wanted to do a wish list, mainly because I'll usually just go with the flow with what's available and what's on at the moment. I don't really go for like limited editions or things of that nature, so I try to sort of just see what's out there and see what's available, see what's new. But my collection has now gotten to a point where I feel as though I've got almost every single fragrance DNA that I could possibly personally want. And of course it's your fragrance journey. You've got to really prioritize what it is that you want, not what's popular, not what's in. You've got to really try to isolate what it is that your fragrance collection is going to give for you in your life, in your certain situation. There's a lot to be said for that sort of mentality and that paradigm in life, but I digress. But I've got a lot, and I've got a lot of fragrances that I'm really happy with, so I'm actually looking this year to sort of maybe complete my collection is too strong a word, but really going towards completing it and going towards all the things that I know that I really want. So there are 10 fragrances here, of course, top 10s, who'd have thunk it. But there's 3 honourable mentions, and these honourable mentions are fragrances that I had and I don't have anymore, and I really do want them back in my collection. The first one is Tom Ford's Oud Wood. Just a really staggeringly lovely, creamy, somewhat soft now Oud Wood, of course. It's more agarwood than oud. It's more the tree that comes before the oud, if I'm honest, that it smells of, which is nice. But I really liked this one. I really loved this one on my skin, and I wore this a tremendous amount in 2018. This was my signature scent. And in the space of 2 years, I used up a whole 50ml bottle, and that's very unlike me because I've got such option. Any fragrance collector will tell you it takes a real love for a fragrance to use up that amount in such a short space of time. So I would like to rebuy it. I would actually like to buy the 100ml of it because I feel as though I could go through it again. I've mentioned previously I prefer the 50ml Tom Ford designs over the 100ml. I think many people do, but just for practical purposes I'd have to go for the 100ml. So that's my first wish of 2021. Second one is Bleecker Street. Is it discontinued? Is it not? Max Forte, why don't you tell us the truth? I don't know whether it's discontinued or not. All I know is that I see it sometimes and I don't see it, and then it's all over the place. But I would have to get the 100ml. I had a 50ml of that. There are some real arguments to say that Bleecker Street isn't really worth it in some ways because it's somewhat like an amalgamation of Aventus and Purple Label by Ralph Lauren, but Purple Label certainly isn't available anymore. But I just really loved it, and I remember wearing it in New York City, and I just thought, wow, this is so cool. I'm wearing Bleecker Street, and I was actually wearing Bleecker Street on Bleecker Street in Manhattan, and that was quite something. That was quite a wonderful memory. But it's lovely. It's very pleasant, very casual, really quite overpriced. I might have to think about that one, really. But yeah, it's good, and I'd like it back in my collection. And the third and final honourable mention is the fragrance that I thought I was going to get, a fragrance I thought I had, actually, which is AMOUAGE Interlude Black Iris. And I thought I'd got it, so you can even see my reaction and disappointment in the whole video, where I thought I'd got AMOUAGE Interlude Black Iris, but I had not. I'd got AMOUAGE Interlude Man, the original. This was disappointing, as I'd smelt Black Iris when I went to see Chris, and really captured my imagination and was really solid, and I thought, wow, this is probably the best thing that AMOUAGE has put out in quite a while. They've drifted a little bit from sort of some clone fragrances, which they really shouldn't be doing. They're more talented than that. They don't need to do that. And some lower quality stuff, and then some kind of like mad, really over-the-top spicy things, which sometimes they can do very well, like Jubilation 25, but sometimes it's just crazy. I mean, I'm glad that they went back to their roots. They focused on the interlude DNA and tried to give it something more, which of course was the iris note, and it's fabulous. I'd really love that. Now onto the list. These are fragrances I've never owned before. These are fragrances I've owned maybe samples or decants of, but I've never owned full bottles, and I've always wanted them. And this is the year where I'm really going to try and go for them. So number 10 is AMOUAGE again, Reflection Man. I've always loved it, by the way. Always loved Reflection Man. Fantastic, incredible compliment getting niche fragrance. If you're wanting to go to niche fragrances but you want compliments and you're scared of leaving your 1 millions and your Lamals and your spice bombs and things of that nature, and you're frightened because you won't get good positive attention, then just seek out Reflection Man, because it's an absolute people pleaser, attention grabber, and it's very energetic. It's a very hyped up, energetic fragrance, and I always remember that and loving it. Again, when I was at Chris's, he has the new Reflection Man with the magnetic cap. I sprayed it on thinking, oh god, here we go, it's not going to last at all. But it was powering out of me whilst I was walking down the streets of York with both Chris and Pete. And even Peter said, fragrance view this is, he said, I'm very critical of the reformulation of this fragrance because of the performance issues, but he said this is really blasting off of you. So that was kind of my nod of, go ahead, you've got it in the bag, the reformulation works on you, why don't you try and go for it. So yes, I would love that. I don't know if I'd want 100ml, maybe just a 50ml for now. I've got quite a lot of people-pleasing designer fragrances and some people-pleasing niche. I'd be happy with a 50ml of that one. Number 9, well, this isn't really in any particular order, really. Let's just go from 10 to 1 because I suppose it's easiest. Maison Francis Kurkdjian Oud, original Oud. Oud Satin Mood is great. Oud Velvet Mood is really, really crazy and going into barnyard, sort of more authentic territory. The only thing that lets the Oud line down, especially when it comes to like velvet and silk, is that they're like, I don't know, 200, 300 quid, when you can buy fragrances like that off of eBay from actual Arabian sellers for more like £50 or £100. And it's from people who, grew up with that mentality and grew up with that Saudi Arabian and Eastern fragrance philosophy. Basically, if you want anything that smells like Oud Silk Mood or Oud Velvet Mood, you've just got to follow Curly Fragrance Michelle, because she's always talking about Arabian, hardcore Arabian oud fragrances that are pretty cheap and, well, very well priced, and you don't have to have the MFK price tag. But the original oud is very warm and very Christmassy, and to me it is that amalgamation of Western and Eastern styles of oud, vanilla and amber, but it's got this real harsh cutting, kind of like bark, deep sort of tree bark smell that goes along with the vanilla and the oud and the amber and all that. And that for me really sort of sets it apart. That is something that I've always really appreciated. Next one is Vulgari's Man in Black. This is basically Spice Bomb, but with the Vulgari twist, the Vulgari sophisticated twist. It has a lot more leather, a lot less sort of harshness. Spice Bomb can be really, really quite harsh. It can honestly at times smell as though you've just hit a gingerbread house into your face, and I don't like that. I don't find that appealing. I much prefer Spice Bomb Extreme. But Vulgari Man in Black has got that spiciness, got that ginger, got a little bit of that vanilla and the stereotypical things, but it's got this kind of dark, almost sooty powderiness to it that makes it a lot more wearable and a lot more regal, a lot more sophisticated, a lot more suit and tie, and I really appreciate that. And I feel as though I want that in my collection, because it's also a little bit more tempered. Like some of the suit and tie fragrances that I have right now, and some of the formal fragrances that I have now, are things like Royal Oud by Creed, and that's just a bit over the top. That can just be way too much at times. Vulgari Man in Black, especially if you get the cologne version, which I don't think I'd get, I think I'd get the actual version. That one is a really great trade-off between something that smells formal, like you're wearing a suit and tie and you go into a big event, but it has got this casual element to it and this sort of more friendly element to it. So yeah, that's something I've been eyeing up. I'd get 100ml of that because I feel as though I need it. Next one is NASOMATTO's Pardon. I have a clone of this. I have No Apologies by Alexandria, and I really do like that, and I think that that's pretty good, but I feel guilt. I just kind of feel guilt as an artist. It's been great and it's been fun, and I think that it's actually really good, and that is a very sophisticated going out to theatre or big events, suit and tie, big dinner kind of event. That's really good, and I love that. And I love that chocolatey oud DNA, which I still feel as though that DNA has not really been tapped into as much as you'd think it would be, especially in the designer sense. Especially with Tom Ford, you'd think that there would be fragrances that smell like Pardon by NASOMATTO sort of everywhere, but that's not what happened. But I love that DNA, and I think that, okay, they're really overpriced, and they're a little bit over the top, and especially the guy who runs it. But that's a great fragrance, and that oud chocolate combination is quite spellbinding, along with that wood shaving, that raw wood shaving smell that I get from it. That's great. I'm going to use up my Alexandria, and then I'm going to buy the actual legit thing, so that's great. I think, well, obviously I'd only get the 30ml because that's only what's available right now. Next one is Creed Zest Mandel... Oh man, what is this word? Creed's Zest Mandarin Pamplemousse. I smelt this in New York at the Creed boutique. Blown away. And I either had a choice to buy that or go to the Bond No. 9 store and buy a fragrance. I made the wrong decision. I went to the Bond No. 9 store. I bought something, I can't even remember what it was. It smelled like Smarties with lipstick. It wasn't very nice. It wasn't good. I should have got the Creed Zesty Mandarin Pamplemousse fragrance. That one is my third favourite Creed fragrance of all time. Have a wild guess which one's my first. Yeah, it's just all of the Creed tropes that we all know and love rolled into one glorious Creed fragrance. It's got the aquatic nature of Silver Mountain water. It's got the fruity nature of Millésime Impérial. It's got the linen, watery, aquatic nature from Arolfa, and it's got some of the more herby floral elements, the white floral elements from their private sort of collection, like things like Spices and Woods and the flower one that they do in that collection. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. It really is sort of the magnum opus of Creed in a way. I do feel as though that is sort of everything that Olivier Creed has tried to sort of achieve in his lifetime as a perfumier, rolled into one fragrance, abridged. Now, I don't think it's his best fragrance. I don't think that it's the greatest Creed fragrance, but it's just sort of like the story of Creed fragrances, especially like in the 80s and the 90s, abridged. So it's brilliant. And I think it actually came out before most of the other Creeds as well. So it's if that one's a starting point, it's a phenomenal starting point for Creed. It kind of showcases what was to come next from the brand. Next one is Tom Ford's Oud Fleur. This one is just like a Christmas dessert. It's fantastic. It's floral. It has that nice, really, really, really light oud. The oud is literally just the backbone. It's a lovely, lovely fragrance and very dessert-like. It reminds me of sort of Christmas fruit breads that you get, of course, at wintertime and at Christmas. Tobacco vanille is kind of like the pastry and the desserts that you get at Christmas. Oud Fleur is kind of like the artisan fruity berry breads that you get, and it's just fantastic. So definitely want that one. Now we'll go to two Xerjoffs, Kobe and Mamluk. Very, very different, but Mamluk is probably the most intriguing gourmand oud ever that I've smelt. It's just, I mean, it's from the line Oud Stars, and it really is. It's an Oud Star. It's really not been as hyped as maybe it could have been, or maybe it should have been. What's incredible about it is that it's gourmand-like, right? But the oud is so dank. It's virtually fecal, right? It's not pleasant. But yet the way that it interplays with all of the gourmand ideas and the woody elements in between, it's mesmerizing. And for somebody like me who feels as though they've kind of smelt it all before, that one really took me off guard. I don't know who I could recommend that to, and that's a fragrance that intrigues me more because my brain wants to find like a deeper meaning to it. But that is something that I really, really want, and yeah, definitely want to get that and wear it one winter. I don't think it'd even be unpleasant. I think the opening is a little bit unpleasant, but I think on the skin, yeah, I definitely need a full bottle of that. And to contrast that, yeah, Kobe. I remember a few years ago, citruses and summer fragrances are still probably my favourite genre of fragrances. I mean, Millésime Impérial, that is kind of the quintessential and the perfect summer fragrance for me. That's what I like. Kobe and things like Creed Millésime Impérial, Burlington 1819, and then you get Xerjoff Kobe, and Xerjoff Kobe I'd never smelled anything like that, and I thought it was just an absolute bomb of florals and citruses, and it was just so natural and just so real and so full-bodied and so rich. I knew that was from a little sample, and then I smelt it again in LA, and I thought, God, that just is so good. It's just the audacity of that, to have something that shouldn't be as rich and as potent as that, but yet it is. It's an absolute bomb, so yeah, definitely would want that. And so now we come to the final two. Christian Dior Eau Sauvage Parfum. What an absolute banger. What an absolute banger of a fragrance. It's so good. I recommended it in my top 10 fragrance lines for 2021. It's an absolute juicy home run of a fragrance by Christian Dior. It's sophisticated, it's mature, it's got that neroli that we all know and love, but it's got this kind of woodiness and this sweetness, the sweetness intertwined with woodiness, and I think there's also like a healthy amount of ISOE super that just normalizes it and makes it a lot more modern and can really appeal to, you know, modern people and modern fragrance aficionados. But that one is something that is truly special, truly brilliant. And a lot of the male British fragrance reviewers have it. A lot of the top ones, of course, Chris, I know, has it. Mr. Smelly, of course, probably adores it. And there's some others, I don't know if Peter owns it, but it's a very British fragrance, right? And it's very of that ilk, and so I definitely want that. But I'd say that my number one fragrance wish of this year would be something I've been wanting for such a long time. I don't know why I didn't get it, because I had a choice between this and Rose Barbare from Guerlain, and I chose Rose Barbare. I think it's because I was trying to be different and not going for the obvious one, but I love Rose Barbare, but I should have probably picked this one. It's Spiritueuse Double de Vanille. It's incredible. I think that another reason why I didn't get it is because I feel as though I've kind of got my fill with that with Eau de Michon's, which is no money at all. But I smelt Spiritueuse Double de Vanille 2 years ago, and I remember thinking, that's just fantastic. I love vanilla. Vanilla's a fantastic note. Has a lot of great connotations, and just the way that it was interlinking with everything, I was like, damn, that is so good. That really is like top tier. It's like ice cream, pure vanilla ice cream, wrapped in with caramel and lots of different woods and a couple of florals to just kind of mix it up, like white, aerated, springtime florals, just sort of packed in with all those different elements. And I thought, God, this is compositional heaven. But that would probably be my number one fragrance to get this year. It's fantastic, and if you haven't checked it out and you love vanilla, then oh man, you've got to check that out. It's fantastic. Right, well, that was my wish list for 2021. Hope that you enjoyed it. Please, I haven't just made this video to showcase to you. I'd also love to know down in the comments, what is it that you're gunning for this 2021? What fragrances are you looking for? I'd love to know. If you enjoyed this video and want more fragrance content, then, of course, like this video and subscribe. I'm The Fragrance Press. Thanks so much. I'll see you again soon. Bye.